Hi there, and thanks so much for joining me. Now, if you look around you, you'll see that essentially everything is a mess. And maybe you're wondering, how can it be fixed? Is the solution political? Well, what I would advise you to do is look at the politicians that we have and ask yourself which politician really is willing and able to fix the multitude of problems that we're facing. A lot of people think that Nigel Farage has answers. And actually, I don't blame anyone for voting for Reform UK. Is that what it's called? Reform UK? Because at least it shows that people want change. And people are fed up with the situation that we're in right now. In other countries, they've had general elections and people have voted for the status quo. But because people now are starting to vote for reform, it shows that people want change, and this is good. This is a good thing. However, despite the fact that the establishment, that is the political parties that are already in place, they really hate reform, and in fact Holyrood is trying to get it banned. Despite that fact, the truth is that Reform UK is not that different from the other parties. Okay, despite the hype around them, despite how polarised the population is on whether or not Nigel Farage is good, it's really not that different. It's really not that different. And I think those people who vote reform because they want change will ultimately be disappointed. That's just my opinion. Maybe I'll be proved wrong. So the question then is, how do we make the country better if we can't by voting? If elections are barely going to scratch the surface of making a difference, what do we do? Well, the simplest way is that we work on ourselves and our families. Now, I hate this phrase, but it is true. Be the change you want to see. You've probably heard that before. I hate these. It sounds so jargony. However, if you think people should be a certain way, they should act a certain way, they should have certain characteristics, you've got to start with you. You've got to be the leader in that. And the things I'm talking about are generosity, friendliness, honesty, being on time, and ultimately taking responsibility. We've got to start with ourselves. I've got to be that person. You've got to be that person. Honestly, that's the only way that we're going to get out of this mess. If individually, one by one, we start to do that. Now, it is hard to start, but once you get going, actually, you might find that you enjoy that mentality, and also others will start to follow your lead. If you start in one area of your life, example, being generous, that's easier for some than others depending on income. Being honest. Alexander Solzhenitsyn wrote a book, The Gulag Archipelago, about life in the Gulag in Russia and the Soviet Union, where he spent some time. And in one of the phrases from that book is live not by lies. And that's a good place to start. That's a good place to start. No lies, just be straight with people, be honest, etc., etc. So these are just starting positions. Now, if you are concerned about the political situation, and actually I think we all should be quite concerned, and you think that politics is the answer, then it's time for you to start going to council meetings and perhaps even standing for election. Now, I'm not going to recommend a political party. I think if people stand for election, they should stand as independents. But that is entirely up to you. It's the whole concept, starting with me, I'll take responsibility. I think Michael Jackson had a song, I'm starting with the man in the mirror. That is That is it summed up. We start with ourselves. We don't point the finger at other people and saying, somebody should do something. Well, if somebody should do something, that somebody is you. That somebody is me. So, the downside of that, of course, is that change will be slow. Because as we change ourselves, that change is slow. If we are self-consciously working on our own characters, that is a slow change. And that filters out slowly. But the truth of the matter is, that is really the only way to see real change. Not just papering over the cracks or going from Conservative to Labour and then from Labour maybe to Reform. Those are, I hate to say it, very minor changes. The changes start with us, and if we want real, actual change, we have to think in the long term, not in the short term, because changing a political party one for another is very short term, because they only have 4 or 5 years in office. What can they do in that time? More of the same. Real change comes slowly, and it comes starting here in ourselves. Okay, thanks very much for watching. See you next time. Bye.